Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with some Elfnote Synchron. We're actually going to start with a replay that shows you how you can pivot from Elfnote plays into Synchron plays. But also up top, I got to give a huge shout out to Death Echo, a YouTube user I found when searching Elfnote Synchron videos, who has a couple of really good ones. So I'm going to link the video I used as a reference down in the description below. Make sure to go show them support as well. But this is going to be a fairly standard turn 1 combo line with Medius the Pure. We're going to begin by going to the Excel Synchron, dumping the Jet Synchron into the graveyard using Medius plus Elfnote Power Patron. Then we can search Lucina, make the Baron de Fleur. This will not only set up an Omni Negate going into the rest of our combo line, but now we are also able to continue to set up those Synchron plays. We're going to cycle into the Fortuna to get the Rhapsidia in play, then put her back into the deck with Medius. Jet Synchron's going to discard a card, or rather send it from the hand to add, or rather to summon back to the field, if I can keep this straight. And now we can go into Junk Speeder. Once again, we've already set up the Baron de Fleur Omni Negate, and we have the Rhapsidia Negate going into their turn as well. Now Stardust Synchron is going to add Illumination, but if you already had it or wanted something else, you could get Junk Signal here as well. We're going to make the Elfnote Seraphim Strelitzia. That's going to activate, and we can revive the Elfnote Power Patron. Now we can go 1+7 into the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. From here, Excel Synchro Stardust gets to activate. We are going to revive the Elfnote Power Patron and then activate the Stardust Illumination. We're going to summon out the Stardust Worm from our deck. Normally in other Synchron decks, I've played Stardust Trail in the past, but we need Worm here in particular. You could do the combo with Trail as well, but Worm's effect to revive itself from the graveyard is going to come up later. Because we're going to raise the level of the Worm by 3 with the Elfnote Power Patron and Synchro for 5 to make the Hyper Librarian. But if you were on Trail, you could just go 1+4 and make the Librarian that way. Now we contribute the Excel Synchro Stardust for regular Stardust Dragon. Stardust and the Stardust Synchron are then going to synchro together in order to make the Crimson Dragon. Now this will give us a couple of draws off the Hyper Librarian. We get one for Stardust and one for Crimson Dragon, and furthermore, Assault Synchron gets to activate here, and we can revive the Excel Stardust from the graveyard. That'll give us another level 8 Dragon non-tuner body to synchro with, which is going to be important here in a moment. First, we're going to use Rhapsidia to revive Elfnote Power Patron. Then we're going to go 1+8 into the Vermilion Dragon mech. Now, in the video that I referenced from Death Echo, they went into Lightstorm Dragon instead. It doesn't really matter which level 9 synchro you go into, you just need to make a level 9 synchro, because after we get the draw off Hyper Librarian, we can use Crimson Dragon, and then we can make the Trishula with that, since of course it's level 9. This will give us the first of a total of, I believe, 4 hand rips from our opponent here. That's right, we're going to set up more negates that our opponent's going to end up with cards in hand. We're going to use Trishula to banish a card from their hand. Ends up being a red reboot. Now Revolution Synchron gets to revive. Synchro with the Trishula, which is a dragon, by the way. And that means we can summon out the Bestial Dissipator. Or if you summoned Lightstorm Dragon, you could use that as material instead. But either way, one of those level 9 synchros is going to end up hanging out on the end board. Now we can revive the Worm, tribute the Worm for the Stardust Synchron. I'm going to decrease the level using the Illumination in my graveyard in order to synchro for 8. Now I can go for the Psyframe Lord Omega. Omega's effect gets to activate. We're going to rip a Book of Eclipse from their hand. Dissipator brings back the Omega. And Omega is going to activate yet again. This time we're going to banish a Junkmeister from their hand, revealing that it's sort of a mirror match. Now with this Regina in hand, I can send away the Welcome Home for Tinia, and I'm even going to use Junk Signal here in order to revive Stardust Dragon, giving me just one more layer of protection against some board breakers. I just saw the Book of Eclipse and I was a little bit worried they might, I don't know, randomly have like a Raigeki or something, so I figured that the destruction protection from Stardust might be a little bit better. But either way, going into our opponent's turn, we've got the Tinia on board, so during their draw phase we can use Tinia, and now we're going to rip a 4th card from their hand. So you can see the total of what we ripped was Red Reboot, Book of Eclipse, Meister, and Junk Signal. Now they only have 2 cards remaining in hand, whereas we have Baron de Fleur, Dissipator, and Rhapsidia for 3 negates right there, with the Stardust Dragon to even provide some destruction protection. They're going to summon out the full Speed Warrior. I'm going to use Rhapsidia to negate, sending away the Junkmeister to revive the Lucina. Now I have a bounce on my end board as well. Not that I need even more disruption, but it is there. Looks like they're not even going to use the last card in hand. They're just going to crash the Speed Warrior into my Lucina, or sorry, Tinia, and then pass back. Now, during the end phase, they can have most of their cards back, but, or I guess rather they can have one back in the end phase, and then they can have the others back during the next standby phase. However, they're not going to be of any use to them now. We're going to swing in for lethal very, very easily. And there you have it. Very, very standard turn 1 combo line if you open Medius the Pure. It gets you 3, but usually 4 hand rips. The thing is, the 4th hand rip comes from Tinia, which came off the Regina. You don't always have access to Regina, but you draw so many cards off of Hyper Librarian that if you're playing 3 Regina, you're probably just going to get to draw into it. So that 4th hand rip is really easy to find. But even if you don't find it, we still have 3 hand rips, right? And then also 3 negates, Baron, Painter, and Rhapsidia, set up through the combo line, meaning it's pretty much impossible for your opponent to play through a board like that. But let me show you some other ways to set up turn 1 boards. This is going to be a bit more of a brief replay. It'll only be 1 turn, and it's not even going to really be my full turn 1, but I wanted to show you some kind of, I guess, quote-unquote freestyling combos, because the thing about Synchron, it looks like a really daunting deck, right? Because of just how many moving parts there are to it, and sequencing feels like it can get really specific, but it's actually not a lot of the time. Synchron is one of those decks where knowing the combo line is nice, but mostly for an idea of just how the deck plays, rather than following that strict combo line every single time. Like here, I'm just baiting hand traps with Junk Speeder, which sounds really weird, but I've got multiple Elfnote extenders in hand, so it's going to be really easy for me to still combo and find a really strong end board. However, my opponent actually did not negate the Junk Speeder. I was very, very surprised by that. So here I'm actually going to normal summon Droll and Lockbird and use that to establish the Hyper Librarian even earlier. Again, you wouldn't expect normal summon Droll and Lockbird to be a part of Synchron combo lines, but that's just because we're freestyling, like I said. And getting the Hyper Librarian online sooner rather than later is always better because it'll give you more draws, of course. Now, we do want to make sure that the the Assault Synchron is in the graveyard before we tribute the Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. So, gonna use this Rhoda to do a little bit of deck thinning, just finding another Junkmeister. But here and now, I'm gonna go into the Elfnote stuff. Gonna send away the Junkmeister for a Lucina. We're gonna use Lucina to add Tinia, and then now we can go Assault Synchron plus Lucina into the Psyframe Lord Omega. I'm gonna put that in the EMZ just to like keep it out of the way. I should have banished right away to hand rip, but it's actually not that necessary here either because my opponent is just not doing anything as far as like hand traps go. So now we can summon out the Stardust and then tune it with the Jet Synchron, and that'll get us access to the Vermilion Dragon Mech. It'll also get us a couple of draws here. So basically we're setting ourselves up in order to be able to not only go into more negates, but also thinking about the Crimson Dragon setup here too with the Trishula. Of course, we do have more Crimson Dragon targets than just the Trishula. We're also on the Shooting Majestic Star Dragon. So if we need to use the Vermilion Dragon Mech as a material to keep playing, that's actually fine. And again, we can still make use of Crimson Dragon later on. Getting even more draws here. Revolution Synchron gets to revive. Here, I'm going to make the Baron de Fleur. Just going to go ahead and use that Vermilion Dragon Mech as a material, because we actually have a level 10 Crimson Dragon option too in the Bestial Dissipator. Normally, we just summon Dissipator, using a Dragon non-tuner, like properly, but it is another Crimson Dragon option if you want it to be. Now, from here, just looking at my hand, it would have kind of depended on my Hyper Librarian draw for how exactly I proceed, but I mean, we have the Stardust Illumination, we have Regina, and I try and remember if we have our normal summon. Did we begin with a normal summon? I don't believe that we ever we normal summon Droll and Lockbird. Of course, yeah, to make the Hyper Librarian a little bit earlier on in the combo line. That probably would have came back to bite me just a little bit, just because obviously if I had my normal summon here, I could just go for Elfnote Power Patron. That would hugely open up my options, be really easy for me to just make Crimson Dragon, but it's also not really something I'm stressing out about. I think we were fine no matter what. Anyway, let's see another replay. Okay, now for this one, we're gonna be pushing through a hand trap, but not just any hand trap, Dimension Shifter. Obviously tends to be a problem. Elfnote needs to send cards as a cost in order to activate, and Synchron really likes its graveyard effects. However, I'm gonna show you how this hand can play through Shifter very easily. Gonna begin by special summoning Tinia. Unfortunately, we already have the Welcome Home in hand, but as I go to activate it, they're going to chain Dimension Shifter. Now, the reason they use Dimension Shifter in response to the activation of Elfnote's Welcome Home is that, as mentioned, the Elfnote cards, their cost is that you have to send cards from the hand or field to the graveyard. And if you have to send a card to the graveyard specifically as a cost, that means that if it's banished, or if it would be banished because of Shifter, you just can't activate the effect. That's actually also true of Regina, if you pay attention here too. However, since Regina is a quick effect, we'll simply chain her. We are, of course, sending away the Tinia. That way Regina can special summon to the center zone. And then we can special summon the Elfnote Power Patron from deck. I'm going to buff up the Regina level in order to make the Baron de Fleur really early on. Now we have the negate established, and even through Shifter, I can still make some Junk Speeder plays thanks to the Junkmeister in my hand. Now that I can add Junk Armor, Armor is going to activate and special summon. We can then banish to summon out Jet Synchron from deck, and now we're going to summon the Junk Speeder by going 1 + 4 = 5. Alright, Junk Speeder effect gets to activate. Gonna pull out our Synchron monsters, start a Synchron. I'm actually gonna add Junk Signal here, because I don't think the Illumination is gonna get a ton of use here. Now, I'm actually gonna make the Vermilion Dragon Mech, and that's so I can tune with the Revolution Synchron in order to make the Crimson Dragon. Now we can use Crimson Dragon's effect on the Baron de Fleur, and we are summoning out the Bestial Dissipator, which of course can pull out monsters from the banish pile. We're going to summon out the Stardust Synchron, normal summon the Molcharmy Fuelos, and now we can synchro for 8. I'm going to make the Cyframe Lord Omega and do a little bit of hand ripping before going into our opponent's turn. And the card that we actually banished was the Weather Painter Snow. Could not tell you the last time I actually faced against the weather that wasn't in, like, you know, an event that restricts your deck building, but here we are. They're going to go for Cloudy Canvas, then Snowy Canvas. Not going to bother negating either of those with Baron, because we can simply respond to the Weather Painter effect when it activates. Now, let's see. The Snowy Canvas effect is going to try to add a card. Cloudy Canvas just lets monsters attack directly. Obviously, I wasn't concerned about that at all, but as they go to use the effect of the Snowy Canvas by banishing the Weather Painter Cloud, they actually screwed up kind of badly. Or rather, it's not that they screwed up, it's just that Bestial Dissipator has an excellent matchup against the weather, something I wouldn't have thought of before this exact interaction. See, we can use Dissipator, put the Weather Painter Cloud back into their deck to negate the search effect. Now, not only is that search negated, but of course, since it's no longer banished, Weather Painter Cloud will no longer come back during the next standby phase. So, yeah, again, the Bestial Dissipator really just ends up being a total shutout when it comes to playing against the weather deck, which is kind of wild. It's one of those really specific interactions that you wouldn't necessarily assume right off rip, but it is very nice. But moreover, we were able to establish multiple negates and even a hand rip, even though we got hit with the Dimension Shifter. Very, very proud of this deck's ability to play through hand traps. I don't know why I say proud, like I built it, but I'm impressed. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, let's move on to the deck list. I'll show you the breakdown here. Okay, so here is my list for Synchron Elfnote. I'm on a 40 card list, but there are so many different things that you could add, not even just in terms of like more Synchron stuff, but also even in terms of more starters for Medius the Pure. I'm not even just talking about Theo Realize either. You actually do want to be able to normal summon Medius the Pure in order to get that full combo I showed you in the first game. So obviously you could be playing a third copy of Medius the Pure, but another thing that you could be doing is you could actually be on a hero package. You could play Elemental Hero Prisma, which does actually have the ability to reveal the Archmage, where is it? This one here, Diactorus, which uses specifically Medius the Pure as a material. So because Prisma is able to dump Medius Appear from the deck to the graveyard, that has the ability to then get your plays going. Because not only does it set up Medius in the graveyard for later, but it also gets you a body on board that does count as Medius Appear. So you don't end up losing out on that when you need the other level 4 body later. As opposed to if you use Theo Realize, yeah, you could send back Medius Appear from the graveyard, but then when you need to do it again to make Junk Speeder, you won't have that level 4 non-tuner body. So that does actually matter. So not only is it just Elemental Hero Prisma, but of course you can play the spell card A Hero Lives, which if you're not familiar with is this card. You can use this to summon out Prisma from the deck in order to have more starters for that full combo line that gets you 3 to 4 hand rips plus 3 negates. I don't think it's super necessary. As you saw, I don't even own any copies of A Hero Lives, and I don't really want to craft them just for that optional engine, but it is there if you already own them and want to try that out. For my additional engine stuff, I've included a playset of Junk Meisters, as well as a reinforcement of the army to search them. As you saw in those replays, Meister, even if your Elfnote plays get disrupted, is capable by itself of just going into Junk Speeder, which obviously is quite good. As always, love playing a multi-engine decks like this because you can either choose to begin with a lot of hands with either your Junk Speeder plays or your Elfnote plays. I tend to prefer beginning with Elfnote because they're a little bit more resilient to hand traps, and your opponent's more likely to use the hand traps against them. If they see you do Synchron stuff, they'll probably just wait for Junk Speeder, but if you start doing Elfnote stuff, like if you start by special summoning Lucina, they'll be a lot more inclined to throw out like their Imperm or their Ash Blossom, you know, right off rip. And then again, if you've got a Junk Meister in hand, then you can just summon that and then start going into plays that way. So yeah, like I said, there's a ton of different ways that you can not only build this deck, but also even just play out the combo line as well. As you saw, we are not only doing hand rips, but you could also just set up a bunch of negates too. One thing I didn't really get to do in practice that I really wanted to try out is summoning the Shooting Majestic Star Dragon, because this card's effect, right? Once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can banish this card until the end phase, and if you do, negate the activation. If you do that, banish that card. So it's really important to note, this is not a hard once per turn. It is a soft once per turn, meaning it is once per copy on the field per turn. So what you can do is you can negate an effect that activates during the end phase, then Shooting Majestic Star Dragon will come back right away, and then you'll be able to still negate more effects during the end phase. And if you think about it, there is a meta deck running around right now that activates a lot of effects during the end phase that of course being branded. So Shooting Majestic Star Dragon, I think, is a really solid option in this current meta for its ability to negate all of Brandon's end phase effects, because again, it's not a hard once per turn. So it'll negate, banish itself, then because it's the end phase, it'll revive right away, and then you can simply negate again. Very, very fun. Again, in theory, I didn't get to actually do it in practice, but the option is there. So yeah, definitely, like I said before, check out Death Echo in the description. I'm going to link the video I used as reference. I think they also had another video where they actually played the deck in Master Duel. The one that I referenced was from like 7 months ago. Of course, well before a lot of this stuff came out in Master Duel. So definitely show them some support, and yeah, like I said, check them out in the description there. But that is going to do it for now. This is Hexlex. I'm about to sign out, but before we do, we got to move on to our outro. That way we can thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.